Let's paint a picture here. You open up Hulu, you check the top charts. You're probably expecting what? The newest glossy prestige drama, maybe a huge primetime comedy. Well, back in the first week of June, something totally wild happened. ABC's General Hospital, a show that is literally in its 62nd year on the air, shot up from 12th place to the absolute #1 spot on the charts. It beat out massive heavyweights like The Handmaid's Tale, Family Guy, and Nine Perfect Strangers. It's crazy, and it begs this really fascinating question. How on earth does a daytime soap opera, one that's been running for over 6 decades, not just survive, but actually crush primetime shows in today's cutthroat streaming world? Well, that #1 spot, it's absolutely no fluke. While traditional broadcast TV is, kind of scrambling right now under the immense pressure of how we consume media today, the daytime soap is unexpectedly thriving. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the survival of soap operas. Because the real historical secret to this modern success, it's actually not about what's happening on the screen. It's rooted entirely in the sheer power of the soap opera fan community. This group is immense, they are highly organized, and they are incredibly passionate. They don't just sit back and watch these shows. Honestly, they practically co-author them. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is where we're headed today. First, the modern soap landscape. Second, a history of fan power. Then, the rise of the soap press. Next, the digital soap community. And finally, the future of daytime. All right, Section 1, the modern soap landscape. Let's take a look at viewership and ratings. Now, looking at the current competitive hierarchy, this is based on the latest Nielsen data. The Young and the Restless is leading the pack. We're talking nearly 2.9 million total viewers. The Bold and the Beautiful is right behind it with almost 2.6 million. And then there's General Hospital sitting in third with about 1.9 million. But here's the absolutely crucial detail. While the rest of the industry is going through massive upheaval, General Hospital actually saw a 1.74% increase in overall viewers this season. I mean, in an era where most broadcast ratings are practically in freefall, seeing growth, even just a modest bump, proves that this core audience is incredibly sticky. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the competitive dynamic across the networks. There are only 4 legacy network daytime dramas left today, but look at CBS. They are totally doubling down. Not only do they have their 2 huge juggernauts, but in 2025, they launched Beyond the Gates. That's the first completely new network soap in 25 years. Clearly, CBS still firmly believes in the genre. Then you contrast that with ABC, which is relying entirely on its one flagship, General Hospital, and Peacock, which successfully managed to transition Days of Our Lives to a completely streaming model. Moving on to Section 2, a history of fan power, decades of engagement. So how exactly does a television show hold onto an audience this loyal for over half a century? Well, if we trace this timeline, it becomes obvious that soap operas have never existed in a vacuum. Back in the 1950s, engagement was super localized. Think, living room chats or calling up your aunt to gossip about characters like they were actual neighbors. Then, by the 1960s, fans wanted more. They started forming fan clubs and launching these massive letter-writing campaigns. The 70s gave us the soap opera press, which finally handed fans a national stage. And of course, the 1990s through today brought the internet, taking everything from local one-on-one chats to these huge, highly organized, instant digital movements. To really grasp this passion, we've got to rewind to the 1960s. Take As the World Turns. The characters Jeff Baker and Penny Hughes, they were basically the original soap super couple before anyone even used that word. In 1962, the actor playing Jeff wanted to leave the show for primetime, so the writers prickly killed his character off in a car crash. Guys, the real-world reaction was absolute pandemonium. Time magazine reported that year that viewers actually hosted real-life receptions on the character's wedding day, and when Jeff died on screen, fan groups literally wore black clothing in real life to mourn him. The network was just flooded with thousands of protest letters. No way, right? And fans didn't stop at writing the network. They wrote directly to the actors to enforce the moral code of this fictional town. Eileen Fulton, she played Lisa on As the World Turns for 45 years, shared this unbelievable piece of hate mail from the 1960s. A viewer literally wrote, "If that bitch Lisa marries Bob, I'll never watch her show again. I can't stand that conniving little tramp. She's wrong for the Hughes family. Stop her." It is hilarious now, but it perfectly captures the intense personal ownership these fans felt over the characters. Okay, Section 3, Rise of the Soap Press. A national forum. So, by the time the 1970s roll around, this massive, localized passion really needed a national outlet. Primetime TV was getting all the serious critical reviews in major newspapers, but daytime fans, they were kind of left out in the cold. Just look at this number right here, 527,925. That was the total circulation for Soap Opera Digest in just the first half of 2006, over 500,000. It made it the 58th most popular magazine on the newsstand. These checkout line staples gave fans behind-the-scenes access, they published those intense fan letters, they ran polls, they really gave the community a unified national voice. And if you look at the demographics of rival publications back then, like Soap Opera Digest versus Soap Opera Weekly, they were virtually identical. Both were around 83 to 84% female, with a median or average age of 50. That tells us exactly who was fueling this powerful, organized fandom. These were not your casual flip on the TV while doing chores viewers. This was a dedicated, heavily invested demographic, spending their hard-earned money to dive deeper into the storylines every single week. Section 4. The digital soap community. Internet forums. So the crucial point is, why do soap operas generate such intense digital communities? Well, media scholar Robert C. Allen calls soap operas an overcoded narrative. What he means is because there's so much daily dialogue and such deep, decades-long history, even just a simple glance between two characters carries a massive amount of hidden meaning. The show doesn't just hand you the plot on a silver platter. You, the viewer, are forced to actively decode the spaces, the facial expressions, and the dialogue based on literal years of backstory. It inherently turns you into an active participant. Plus, soaps rely heavily on something theorist Matt Hills calls hyperdiegesis. Basically, it's the creation of a vast narrative space where you only ever see a tiny little fraction on screen. I mean, let's be honest, soap operas rarely have the budget to actually film on location, right? So they just talk about places. Take the town of Oakdale from As the World Turns. It was described as this tiny, small town, but also somehow a major corporate hub with high-rises. Because the show never actually shows you the town layout, fans go online and map it out themselves. They literally try to force internal logic onto the show's budget constraints. And this brilliantly illustrates how the internet empowered fans to do far more than just passively watch a broadcast. They became the ultimate puzzle solvers. Researcher Sam Ford breaks this down into 5 modes of fan engagement online: fan discussion, criticism, theories, performance, which is stuff like writing synopses or parodies, and community building. When you really look at these steps, modern soap fans are acting exactly like the internet sleuths mapping out complex Marvel theories on Reddit today. They track down continuity errors, they critique character motivations, they build followings of their own just by being amazing at analyzing the text. The show itself is really just the catalyst. The real product is the community. Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds into the present day. The future of daytime. So how does all this deep academic history actually translate into the business reality of television today? Well, it translates into pure, bankable stability for the networks. Just look at this list of highly encouraging multi-year renewals. The Young and the Restless is locked in through the 2027-2028 season. The Bold and the Beautiful got a massive 3-season extension. Days of Our Lives proved a soap could survive the jump to a streamer, scoring a 2-season renewal on Peacock. And CBS's brand new soap, Beyond the Gates, already snagged a 2nd-season renewal. The networks absolutely recognize the financial value of an ecosystem where the fans are this fiercely loyal. Ultimately, we have to remember that the survival of this genre isn't just some top-down network decision. It's about the fans continually investing their daily energy into maintaining the text. Even when a show hits a bit of a creative drought, the sheer act of going online, griping about a storyline, and finding breaks in continuity keeps the whole community cohesive. They literally keep each other watching. Which brings us to our final thought for today. We've seen how fans went from mourning a character in their living rooms back in 1962 to driving a 62-year-old show to the #1 spot on Hulu today. So as traditional television fades and streaming takes over, will this fiercely loyal, deeply organized community be enough to keep the soap opera alive for another 60 years? Given their amazing track record of adapting and overcoming, I certainly wouldn't bet against them. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the story behind the story.